Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Benjamin, and today I wanted to look at the maps, the starting maps for 270win for their 2020 setup. So I'm not going to look at 2012 actual, the all Republican, all Democratic blank map. Same. Well, I'm not going to look at the same since 2000. 2016 competitive to 2016, very close to 2016 actual. So I'm going to be looking at the ones that they've labeled an expanding battleground, Cook political report, and Sabato's crystal ball. Two of these are electoral experts, supposedly, and this is the first map I'm going to look at, the expanding battleground. And the reason I want to look at this one is because this is 270toWin's supposed, by the way, yeah, that happened. Jay Inslee declared. But I want to look at this because it'll tell us what people are thinking, or at least starting out thinking. So already, some previously labeled true swing states or even red states. Actually, all three of these used to be red states. Virginia, Colorado, and Nevada. All three were at one point very Republican states, and now they are leans Democrat, at least on this starting map. Other areas of interest include the fact that Iowa and Ohio are now considered leans Republican. They used to be, true swing states. For the better part of at least a century. North Carolina, Georgia, Florida. Florida's still always a swing state, so that's not a big deal. Georgia and North Carolina being labeled as true toss-ups this far out is or true swing states, a little surprising. Same thing with Texas, to be quite honest with you. Though I think a lot of Democrats would complain about Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania being labeled as true swing states. Republicans would probably complain about Texas, Georgia, and Arizona. And the most egregious one here is Texas. It's not quite leans Republican, but it's also not quite safe Republican. So this is where you need the likely color in order to fill it out. And this would be what I would consider the best way to describe it. Not the best way to describe it, but this is, if I was making a map showing that the battleground truly is expanding, I would switch Texas to likely Republican, and I would leave everything else the way it is, maybe put Georgia's leans Republican too. Depending on what definition you want to use as leans. Using this one, I'm only going to use the leans and toss-ups. So this is what I would consider using to describe an expanding battleground. I think this is the fair way to do it. So we're going to reset, and we're going to go to Cook Political Report. And this is kind of the other one, except Cook is giving New Hampshire is a leans Democrat, and this is more for 2020 specific rather than just future elections, right? And he hits pretty much where I would consider most of the states to start off as. You could make an argument for Minnesota being a true toss-up, but I don't have any real complaints with Minnesota being labeled as a leans Democrat. Same thing with Nevada. I think he's maybe a bit aggressive on Virginia, but I 100% understand arguments about the Commonwealth being likely Democrat. As a matter of fact, that's what I've been forecasting it as for a while, so But I definitely agree with Colorado. Arizona, and the toss-ups being Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, as well as Florida and Arizona. That is 100% understandable. And as you can see, he's giving a slight edge to the Democrats. Basically, this is every state the Democrats won in 2016. So the only toss-up round is what Donald Trump won. I don't really have any real complaints about this, though you can make an argument for this and this to be the case, but I understand why it may be a little bit difficult to do so. So we're going to look at the last one, which is Sabato's crystal ball, which takes New Hampshire and puts it into the true toss-up column, gives Florida to Donald Trump, Michigan to the eventual Democratic nominee. Surprisingly, he doesn't classify New Mexico as safe, and Colorado is only given a lean, but okay. And this district in Nebraska is considered a true toss-up. Interestingly enough, in his article about it, Sabato mentions that it's going to be harder for a Democrat to make the argument to Pennsylvania and Wisconsin voters who voted for Donald Trump in 2016 that the Democrat is the correct way to go in this cycle. But he said it isn't out of the question. He just thinks they're going to have an easier task about it in Michigan. He said states to watch in the future, again, Texas, definitely. You can also see arguments in this area, maybe the Omaha area of Nebraska. Didn't really count Utah, but he said Rhode Island is a state that could get interesting at some point, but he thinks that maybe is just a one-time fluke. That it was as close as it was in 2016. I would probably change this map and take off Minnesota, Michigan, Florida. I would probably change this to likely, change this to safe. I'm going to leave everything else the same, just because I think that is the most reasonable option to do. And this keeps it the same. There's about 101 electoral votes up for grabs, and that's reasonable. Anyway, I want to thank everyone for watching this quick rundown. In the comments below, I want some more scenarios for election nights and all that. And please, please, please include foreign policy and economic data, or, foreign policy, foreign situation, domestic situation, and economic stuff in your scenarios, or else I'm just not going to choose it, because you can't just have an election night and say, well, the situation is going to get worse. I want to try and remove my own personal biases as much as possible. I'm going to choose the most interesting one. I've already got one scheduled, and I'm most of the way through designing that. I've even recorded a little bit of a behind-the-scenes look, because that's kind of important. And I wanted to show you guys what I actually go through, what I actually do on these election nights. And I just projected out the economic stuff, and I assume nothing big happens, foreign or domestic, because I think that would just take away too much. So, yeah. And then I made some polls that kind of reflected the data, what the economic and what nothing happening on the domestic or international stage would mean for the election, as well as I took some actual polling data that we have for the matchup I selected, and that's what we have. Okay? Anyway, I want to thank everyone for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. Take it easy. Have a nice day. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.